Gary, we're about to embark on a busy period of the season with what, 4 games in 11 days. How do you view that period?
Just pretty much like you view most periods in the Championship. You know, you get periods where you get a midweek game, consecutive weeks, particularly early on in the season, so it's probably not dissimilar. But like everything, you look at them in isolated periods and you look at what can you do in terms of recovery, what do you need to do in terms of the training. Obviously you can't work too hard in certain areas just because the games come so thick and fast, you know, so we'll try to get ahead of the game in terms of the preparation, but ultimately it's going to be about what we do on the pitch, and of course at the moment what we want to do is we want to maintain the good run we're on in terms of being unbeaten, and of course we want to try and be a little bit more clinical at both ends of the pitch to turn some of the draws into wins.
As a manager, is it a period that you enjoy with the games coming thick and fast? I
think any member of staff, and actually the players, certainly, you know, as an ex-player, you know, I quite enjoyed the game periods because really training sometimes, I wouldn't say you're training for training's sake, but it's the games that you look forward to. It's the games that you enjoy. It's tough. It's not easy. You know, when everyone else is munching down on the Christmas dinner, you know, I have been known to have pasta at 3 o'clock on Christmas Day, but you have to make those sacrifices because this is what we're all in the game for, you know, for these sort of periods at Boxing Day games the fans love. So it's a difficult time for anyone with a family, but it's a time when you have to be at your most professional, and certainly you hope by being professional that you get your rewards of some good results over that period.
Will you give the players a bit of time off over on Christmas Day, or you have them in training a little bit later perhaps?
Yeah, what we tend to do is, I've done it earlier, you know, starting at League 2 at Burton, we used to give the players their Christmas Day off because so many of them travelled so far, so it made it a real challenge, and also in terms of facilities. But since I've been in the sort of Championship, you know, it's part of the game is that you have to. It's a game before, it's a day before a game, it's a day before an important game, Christmas Day, so ultimately we have to train. You know, and we have to travel to Birmingham just the same as we normally would do. So what you try to do, you try to find a balance. So we'll give them all Christmas morning and part of the afternoon off with the families. If it's anything like my house, by about 3 o'clock you're bored anyway. And then we'll train a little bit later, so we'll come in and train at 4 or 5 o'clock, and then we'll travel down to Birmingham. So there won't be too many mince pies, there won't be too much eggnog, but there'll certainly be a little bit of work.
With so many games in such a short period of time, how important will your squad be at this period of the season?
Yeah, well, it'll be very important. You know, we spoke about the strength of our squad being a massive factor for us in terms of maintaining the level of quality that we can put out onto the pitch in that first 11. We also spoke about the impact the subs can have on the bench. We've scored, you know, we've had a few goals this season where players coming on the bench, off the bench, have scored goals, which is very, very important. And I think that general togetherness. So yes, of course, in an ideal world as a manager, you hope you only have to use 11 because it means you're probably playing very well and winning games and everyone's fit. But realistically, you're going to need to use the whole squad and pick and choose and make good decisions over that period.
As you mentioned earlier, the form has been pretty decent of late, but let's just touch on the midfielders and the attackers. You must be really pleased with the amount of goals and assists that they've provided of late, and the stats must be up there amongst the best in the league.
Well, it was quite strange really to read some of the sort of reports recently that suggest that you know, we've been maybe a little bit negative at times and stuff like that, and I don't see that at all. You know, if you look at how many times I think we can set a record this weekend if we score 2 goals, I think it goes back quite a long way. So it shows we must be doing something right, and we've also missed quite a few chances and opportunities. But it's about getting the balance right always. It's not about, you know, it's not about the midfielders and attackers. It's not about the defenders. It's about everybody making sure at the right times of games we concentrate and do our jobs properly to make sure we win games, and it's also about taking opportunities when we get them and being clinical and you know. But what I say is we've got a bunch of players that are working incredibly hard. They recognise what we've got to do to be better. We all recognise that, just like everyone else does. And particularly over this period, you know, we want to give our fans some wins, and we want to ideally give our fans some really good performances as well.
It's Millwall on Saturday. What sort of challenge do you expect to face against them?
Well, I know Neil and Dave Livermore really well because I've done a coaching course or two with them, and they're really good guys. They've done a fantastic job there. You know, you have to say sometimes when you come up out of League One, you know, in that first season or two, you can maintain it, and they've done that really, really well. I mean, last year they were so close to the playoffs. I think we knocked them out the playoffs, I think, on the last couple of days, having them knocked us out the playoffs. So they've been brilliant, and what they're probably finding this year is sometimes it's hard to maintain that level and maintain that feeling. But they're a dangerous side, they're a good side, they can mix the game up really well. I expect them to come and have real good energy. I expect them to come and have a real bit of fight, particularly after I think Neil would have put a little bit of a flea in their ear after their last game, and we've got to be at our very, very best to win the game. But what we know is if we are at our very best, then we will have a chance of winning the game because we've got a lot of quality in our team. It's going to be a difficult afternoon.
In terms of injuries, how is everyone shaping up?
I think we're okay. I think young Tyrese Campbell's picked up an injury, which is a little bit disappointing because he picked up one. I think before the Reading game he was going to be on the bench, but he picked up an injury and then he's picked up another one I think this week. So this sort of stopped his opportunity really. So I don't think it's too serious, but of course we've got Peter Etebo coming back into the fold after him having a little enforced break, if you like, and I certainly expect Peter to come back in now and have an impact, whether he starts a game or whether he's off the bench.